excuse me, let me, go ahead, go ahead. I'll come back over there, two more.
Sorry, I just wanted to know, with all of the numbers that are being generated related to the amount of carbon in the atmosphere, are you factoring in, I saw a documentary that the BBC had put out called Global Dimming, and what they were talking about, this researcher was able to do a bunch of research post, like the day after September 11th, because all these planes weren't flying, and so all this particulate matter and whatnot wasn't in the air, and they found out that there was this cooling effect because of the particulate matter, so the temperature actually went up when there wasn't so much jet traffic. So the bottom line of what they were saying in it was, as we clean up the atmosphere and get rid of that particulate matter, that right now, with as much gunk that's been added to the atmosphere, that's actually dampening the climate warming effect. And so as we clean up the particulate matter, that we're going to see an even bigger jump in the rate of the temperature.
Yeah, well said. The issue is that cleaner air, particularly take out sulfur dioxide particles that reflect sunlight back in the atmosphere, it's rather like pulling down a parasol or umbrella and all of a sudden you have a direct sunlight hitting you. That is dampening the actual warming, or latent warming that is within the atmosphere or oceans. And so there is this paradox that if say the Chinese in particular clean their air, we'll see a temperature bounce because more warming will be happening. And so, yeah, looking into this debate, there are lots and lots of paradoxes.
So
the other side of this conversation, it's somewhat oblique to your question or your point, what's now being called geoengineering is a whole series of ideas that we could, let's say, put particles in the atmosphere. Jet planes go up regularly every month or so and put particles of sulfur dioxide or other things in the atmosphere to reflect sunlight out, and so temporarily cool the Earth. And if things get bad enough, we'll have to do that. But then what else happens with that? Other geoengineering schemes have been talked about are seeding the oceans with iron to increase algae production and pull carbon out of the atmosphere and so forth. So there are a number of things being talked about. What's interesting is so far there's been virtually no research in the States on this, what it actually is going to cost, what it will do, and what else it will do. And were that money applied to, let's say, efficiency and renewables rather than expensive, iffy projects that may themselves have some kind of catastrophic side effect, we don't know. But anyway, that's a good point. Let's take one last question back here. Hand up back here.
Hi, thanks for coming. My name is Mark. I come to you from Washington University in St. Louis. And St. Louis also has the world headquarters for Peabody Coal, which is, my understanding, is the largest coal company in the United States. And recently, in the last month, Washington University has announced this partnership with Peabody Coal to do research and technology research on this clean coal issue. And I wonder, I'm not an expert on it, and I haven't been able to get to it. They keep us busy there. But I was wondering what you know about it and if you've been in contact with them about that issue.
That was the one slide I'm happy to share it with you that has 5 questions about clean coal. Just for brevity's sake, let me say 2 things. One is coal isn't clean. At no place is it clean. And I spent too much time in the coal fields of West Virginia and other places because that's our next big project after PCAP. And I will tell you, it is awful at every stage. And it's clean coal refers to the hope that we can or they can sequester the carbon, either pre or post combustion. You stop and think about what this means. They've got to figure out how to take supercritical carbon, pre or post combustion, and take that somewhere and inject it deep underground. But they have to have the right geology underground that will absorb it. And that is not for a week or a month, that's every year, year after year for the life of that plant. And then you hope that that doesn't, A, come back to the surface, because if it does, what was the point of doing it? Carbon dioxide at the surface, of course, is fatal to anybody around it. And then you hope it doesn't trigger seismic disturbances. That's a lot of messing around underground in places that geologically may not be that stable. And then you got to do it at a price that you can afford, which we start in the States, the estimates are that will roughly double the cost of electricity. So we'll go from roughly 9 cents kilowatt hour in the States to 18 or 19 or 20 cents kilowatt hour. And then it really ought to have to compete effectively and fairly with efficiency and renewables. Just level the playing field. And frankly, it can't do that. Efficiency and renewables will outcompete coal with sequestration every day of the week. And then you say, well, why would we want to do this? Well, the answer is real simple. It's the same reason you're messing around here with, what do you call it, tar sand? Well, I was told not to call it tar sand.
No, call it tar sand.
Tar sand. Well, whatever you call it, it's a mess. And we shouldn't be doing that. I mean, we're in a big test about whether we, in fact, are Homo sapiens or just another upright, overly clever primate that went extinct. But in this case, it's all about the politics. And the politics of coal, they know it. You know, this is a classic case of democracy. There is a small, very well-funded, and very wealthy group that knows exactly what they want to do. They want to sell coal. And so they put out this advertising slogan, clean coal. And if you're dumb enough to buy clean coal as an advertising slogan, then you'll buy anything. And so it's all about politics. But the public interest is diffuse and not particularly well funded. You know, where are the advertisements for energy efficiency? Where are they in the States? You just don't see it. And yet efficiency, we've known for decade after decade, and empirical studies come in by the ton. We know efficiency is the fastest, quickest way to get to carbon neutrality. Period. There is nothing faster. There is nothing better. But there's something in the States, I'm not speaking for you now, but back in the States, there's something about increasing the supply of something, our fascination with gadgets. And it's taken to be, oh, we cannot conserve or be more efficient. That's, you know, but we now have studies from virtually not just McKinsey Incorporated company, but lots of other people that efficiency in fact works. We had a meeting years back in the White House, and Ray Anderson, who was, we were asked to come and consult with the Bush administration early on. Ray Anderson, who is the CEO and founder of Interface company, the largest maker of carpet tiles in the world. We got into a conversation and we were recommending some environmental policies. We'd done a paper for Dick Cheney and Karl Rove and the White House staff, and their requests, not ours. And during the conversation, the point was made, well, we just can't afford to do all that stuff. So Mr. Anderson reached down in his briefcase, pulled out a sheet of paper which had a bunch of bars on it, and said, this is the data we've had. There was an economic downturn at that time also. He said, this is the data we have. We're in business today because we are efficient and we're shifting to renewables. That's the only reason we're still in business. And he pushed the paper across the table without even making eye contact. The party, the recipient of it, who will remain nameless, shifted it to the right and to the right. It was a long table and to the right and the right. It's now somewhere down by Cuba. But the evidence is overwhelming. I think we're dealing with a cultural pathology that says that starts with your class that the world's abundant, you can have all you want, and you never have to be smart. You don't have to, what my friend John Todd does is elegant solutions predicated on the uniqueness of place. If we have to, that's one of the great things about a localized economy. You have to be smart enough. You can't just go to a store and buy stuff and flip a switch and expect it's going to be there. You have to start thinking about taking some of those elements back in under your own control. And I'm not talking about autarky or self-reliance totally, but beginning to do those things that communities ought to do and once did for themselves. Again, and make a curriculum around it. So we turn out people who aren't just good consumers. You know, the word consumer used to, it came out of, used to refer to people with tuberculosis. If you had consumption, you were dying.